Hey, good morning, Coleman. I'm so happy to have you as my guest today on the Bunzel Sales Nation. And before we start, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Coleman Jones. I am a commercial general contractor, and we focus mainly on the Northern California area. Personally, I am a husband. My wife and I started dating when we were in high school. We have three kids, two biological boys, and then we adopted our niece. And
Nice.
that's kind of the gist. Is there anything like specific you want to know more about? Because I can go all day on any different direction.
Yeah, it's funny how people can go all day long when you ask that question. No, I'll get more into that in a second, but I want the audience to know, I guess where the story begins for me with you on meeting you for the first time or meeting you in, more in depth was at a meeting we had where you were speaking. You were giving a very inspiring presentation to the audience, and
Oh, thank you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And there was a lot of, people that were in leadership there, management. They were all, different walks of life, but you were talking about dreams and envisioning your dreams and goals and your affirmations in life. And you said, a lot of times people need to go deeper on that, go deeper on, how to get there, why they do it, and the use of a vision board, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the conversation about the vision board. But before I talk anymore about that, I want to, go back to something about, what you had talked about in your presentation, that, you were employed by a Rudolph and Sletten, which is a pretty good sized contracting company on the West Coast. You'd worked there for about 10 years and you were a project manager. And you, in all rights, and I know you personally, that, you were very successful. You're very good at what you do. And you had a lot of things going on, but something changed, right? Something changed in your mind to have you speak about, envisioning your dreams. And so I think your dream probably changed. What was that about?
I think there's a lot of great companies out there, and there are a lot of companies that are bad, and there's a lot of companies in the middle. For me, I had a great experience with RNS, but not a completely fulfilling one. So I guess we go back into more of my background. I went to Chico State, got a construction management degree, and started working at RNS from internships through 11 plus years building large hospitals was one of their main focus. So I've done Kaiser Women's and Children's Centers, which is a couple 100,000 square foot, a couple $100 million, part of a big team conquering that building. And growing up through the ranks, started out as an intern, project engineer, senior engineer, project manager, and senior project manager. The opportunities for me to continue to move up with a larger salary, you needed larger projects. A big thing was, hey, your next promotion comes with you managing a medical office building in Bakersfield. Now, living in the Sacramento region, Bakersfield is not on my list of locations where I can easily work at.
Right.
The idea from the company was that first priority is company, second priority is family. And so we need you to move there and manage this project. And I had already done a stint up in North Star in Truckee area, and I drove that every day. They had on-site housing, but I was just newly married, and I just couldn't imagine myself living away from my wife. And so I would drive that every day. And then it just more and more pressure to take on these bigger jobs in different locations. Along with that, as I was climbing the ranks, you get involved in more leadership meetings and leadership decisions. Many times, my ideas I felt were legitimate, viable, great ideas, and I would feel like I was getting suppressed, kind of held back, because it wasn't the way that they have always done what they wanted. The process, it was different. It was a little outside of the box. For me, over time, that just kept wearing me down. And ultimately, I am completely 100% grateful for everything that I've ever learned there in giving me the opportunity to gain my skills on what I do now. It just, there was a little bit of resentment built in from being suppressed. And so the idea started to come to mind, if I'm doing this, if I'm running these massive projects, if I'm leading a team, why can't I lead my own team? Why can't I, instead of just building projects, why can't I build a company and keep it focused in the Northern California area so nobody has to leave their spouses?
Right.
When you think of employees as liabilities versus assets, then you get a different dynamic in your company and your culture. For us, we think of all of our employees as assets because we are the product. We produce the end results. We do commercial construction, a lot of tenant improvements. So if you were needed a office space built out, we would come in there and we would build it out. And so the individual that we put on the front line has to be a representative of the company. And for them to understand that and to show the best face, they need to feel like they're an asset to us from leadership and not sort of a liability.
Yeah. And, it's funny you should mention, I'm reading a book right now about the big picture, and, it talks about the 5 drivers for any successful business. And right in the center, that the number one driver is people. Not only your customers, it's about customers and people are your biggest asset you have in a company. And for somebody, not to recognize what their assets are, customer and employees, it's difficult. But to give the audience a little semblance of, Northern California, and also where North Star is, it's about an hour and 10 minutes, depends on where you live in Sacramento, to that spot. And it's not an easy drive. It's kind of treacherous. And when you get over to the other side, a Tahoe area. So to take that much time away from the family, and I know you're a big family person, so it wasn't so much the money aspect of it, is more the challenges that, you wanted to bring on more challenges, but you wanted it more closer to home, and your family is very important. A true statement?
Yeah, I would say definitely. And the line of work that we're in, we're salaried. And so it's not an 8-hour day. You're not punching in for 8 hours. It's a typical day is 10 hours when you're working out there, and it can go into a true 11, true 12-hour work day. It's funny because you hear a lot of people talk about where I work 12 hours, but honestly, like, not a lot of people really truly work a 12-hour shift. I don't tell anybody really how much I work because I know how much I work. And putting in a true 12 is different than putting in an 8+4 screwing around.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that, yeah, it's not an 8-hour shift. It's, you're done when you're done for the day. And generally it's 10+ hours with a larger construction company, an easy 10.
Yeah. And, I always like to preface things by saying that not everybody wants to own their own company. Not everybody wants to work that hard. A lot of people are, and that's okay. Like a lot of times, whatever position you have in your life, you have a family growing up. In my position, where for the company, for Bunzel, I was in sales, and I went into leadership and management because I didn't really, have a lot of things were changing in my life. I had children, and I had a lot of time to get into other areas I want to with the company, but you kind of pick the spots you want to. But for you, the vision was that you saw something broader and wider for you and more challenging, as long as the family didn't suffer. And that's critical to keep in mind. On that note, how do you go from a successful company, being an employee, onto being an entrepreneur, a startup company?
I will say a couple things. Not everybody wants to be an owner. Not everyone should be an owner. There's a lot of people that can be entrepreneurs inside of companies where they have great leadership. It's difficult to start out as an entrepreneur. How we did it, which is the question, right? The main question. It's difficult. It's one of those things. Some businesses you can start as a side hustle, and start to work that up while you're doing your main job. There's absolutely no way to do what I'm doing as a side hustle. I cannot work for a commercial construction company and then start my own commercial construction. Now, maybe I could have done residential, building pergolas on the weekends and whatnot, but what I am doing, there is absolutely no way. And so to get to a point to be able to start this company, it took a lot of stressful nights, a lot of hard work. I was able to work on contracts and whatnot in the evening. So I would go in and I would work my shift, and then I'd come home and then I'd work, through the wee hours of the night, building the structure to leap off of. And also, one of the things you said, that starting a company without having the family suffer, I think you have to suffer to get what you want in this life. And there's a complete understanding and a buy-in from my family that we were going to go through some suffering to get to a different place in life. There's just no way around it, because it is incredibly so difficult and so much heart and hard work to get a company off the ground. For us, it took way too long because we had no experience. It took us 6 years, my business partner Garrett Lamberti and I, from our first drunk conversations about how we could do this better than it's being done, from the day that we actually pulled the trigger. My wife and I went through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, and we figured out our finances, and we paid off all of our debts, and then we started saving up money. We had enough money in our bank account to where if I didn't bring in a single dollar for 2 years, we would be okay. And at that time, Tori also worked, which was a great help and a burden off of me. When we started our company, Garrett put $5,000 in, I put $5,000 in, and we had the opportunity to manage as a CM, which is different from a GC. We had an opportunity to CM a job in Napa for a court company, which means we oversaw the general contractor. The construction manager oversees the GC. And that was our first opportunity. And the funny thing is that Garrett and I agreed that I was going to run that project. We sent in the proposal. The owner didn't like me. He said the only way that we would sign on is if Garrett ran the project. So we had a hard decision to make, and Garrett ran that project. He worked with Rudolph and Son for 11 years, and then he went over to be facilities maintenance at a winery, and that's kind of where the contact came through. But as soon as we were awarded that project, both of us stepped out and we gave our few weeks notice, and we started off running.
Wow. And I can imagine there's going to be a lot of sleepless nights for you, as you move forward into your own gig there. So, looking at your site, your website, you guys hung the first shingle on your operation in 2018. And that became born of Jones and Lamberti, right? The builders.
Mm-hmm.
Was it easy to find customers? And I'll get into a little bit about your mission statement and so on, how important that is to have a clear definition, but I'm sure you had competition, right? In the field. How do you separate yourself from your competitors? And I'm not talking about this in sales all the time. You got 1,000 people selling packaging. They can get the same products, the same price, and the same items sold to them by these salespeople. You have to find that niche. You have to find that reason that customer is going to buy from you. So what was that like for you guys?
Our company right now is from 0 to 8 figures in 4 years. And the biggest driver of that is relationships, answering the phone, and making sure our clients' lives are easier. The relationships helped out huge because we had a couple mentors that helped us when we started up. They had been in the construction world for 30 years and they were retired. And so they would introduce us to their past contacts. And then so we would be able to go out to lunch with them and introduce ourselves to that contact and then ask if there's the opportunity for us to work together. One of those has turned into multi-millions of dollars worth of work every single year, and it continues to grow because none of our clients are single time clients typically. I mean, there's one-offs to where you do one thing for somebody, but typically that turns into a referral for somebody else. A lot of our clients are commercial developers. They're managers of mid-rises in Sacramento. And so the idea is that we're not in it for one project. We are in it for 50 years worth of projects with these clients, ongoing, repeat. Right. What do you need? We're here to serve you. Anything that you need. It doesn't matter if you need a $500 drywall piece of cut or drywall cut out or one electrical receptacle. We're not too good for anything or too big for that. And so with that mentality of being a customer service driven business that we're there to provide, make sure that construction goes easy, it really helps out because we start getting these clients and then they work with us one time and then it turns into another and another and another. And that's how we've been able to scale our business without spending a single dollar on marketing this entire time, just through word of mouth and repeat clients.
Yeah, and you're not selling computers, you're not selling a car, you're not selling a one knockoff type item. You are selling a lifetime with a customer. And I think you and I spoke about this, with any time is always building relationships, strong relationships based off of, trust, credibility, and whatever else you can bring to the relationship with the customer. And, I looked at I was talking about your mission statement earlier. A lot of times people, when you form a company or you have a company, let's take Bunzl, the company I work for. I think if I was to ask 100 people in my company, what is it that we do? It's easy to say. What we do is we sell packaging. How do we do it? I would say maybe about, 70% of everybody in the company knows how we do it. We work with our vendors, we make relationships, we bring that to the customer. That's how we do it. But when you ask why you do it, why do you do what you do? Your purpose, your reason for living each day, and, what is the company's philosophy on that? I know that what you guys do in your mission statement is that you serve the community by delivering our clients' construction needs. I'm reading this now, while leading the local market with an unwavering reputation. How you do it through your values, as you just mentioned, is that, we stand behind our work, our relationships, and that's important, our relationships and our values. We are always available and accessible to ensure your needs are met. And here's what I really picked up upon was that, we listen to our customers. We actually listen to our customers and what their needs are, not what our needs are. Don't you think that's important? Obviously,
it's crucial. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been on our website.
Right, exactly.
Pat, you have no idea how many projects that I have been given because I answered my phone. And I answer my phone a lot. And if I'm having lunch with the family or if I'm having dinner and a client calls, I'm going to step away because that's where I'm at right now in building a business. And my family completely understands it. They understand what I'm trying to do is to serve a client. If they're calling me, then they need something and I can provide them with a service that they need. And we have done a ton of repeat business with a certain architect. And she says, man, I love this guy. He always answers his phone. We've gotten, over the past couple months, we've gotten 2-3 new clients that have given us repeat work. And they all say the same thing. Like, when I call, you answer. It's kind of made me like a little nervous right now, being on a podcast set up. if a client calls, I'll be like, oh no.
Yeah. But you never get an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a big thing. Just be attentive and listen. And sometimes you listen and you act on that, and then it's not really what they want. And I've had some difficult clients like that. Sure. When they tell me what they want, and so that's what we provide, but Then turns out they actually wanted something different. So that's the part where it's really difficult and hard on me, because I work on myself to be able to hear them, then communicate back. Okay, this is what I'm hearing. This is what you need. This is what you want. This is what we're going to deliver. Sometimes personalities just aren't the right fit, but most of the times, 9 times out of 10, that is going to 90, yeah, that is going to get you so much more in the long run, just by listening, being available, and understanding.
Something as simple as the comment, I'm available for my customers whenever they need me. That is profound, because of the fact that a lot of people don't see it that way. I spend entire workshops doing sales training, and we had this one session which lasts about an hour, and it's all about the customer relationship. And we talk about, number one, the most important thing, the reason why we have 2 ears, 1 mouth, is we have to listen. We have to be able to separate ourselves from everybody else. And how you separate yourself from other companies is because you are there for the customer at all times. And that's significant. But most importantly is that you have to learn to listen and dig deeper on the customer's objections or concerns or what their desired outcomes are, right? You have to dig deep on that. And that's only accomplished by listening to the customer.
Another thing on that is, a lot of people are busy. You're busy. I'm busy. People are extremely busy. The client doesn't need to know that you're extremely busy. I don't care if I'm literally putting out a fire next to me. If a client calls, he's not going to get a frantic, overwhelmed Coleman that just cannot figure things out because I'm just so busy. He's going to get me that's calm. He's not going to know anything that's going on the side or anything else. It's going to be 100% focused on you at that time. What do you need? No problem, no rush. We'll figure it out. Just a calm, yes, I can take that. No problem. I got you.
Yeah, exactly. I always go back to inspired leaders like yourself, or inspired companies that you run. You guys all think, act, and communicate the same exact way. And it's a complete opposite to everyone else out there in the industry. If you look at Apple, you look at Walmart, you look at Costco, Amazon, successful companies, they all act, think, and communicate the same way. And it's different from what everybody else does. And that's what their why is. We talked about, how you do, what you do, how you do it. Now I want to know, why do you do it? And why should anybody care? Is it, what is it for you? What's in it for you?
What's in it for me? The why is business why. I would say it's different than personal why. Business why is, I am building something that is going to elevate my employees beyond what they've ever thought was possible. My dream for myself, my company, future companies, is to be so expansive, so huge, so massive that my employees, their big dreams and goals can fit inside of my huge, enormous goal. Because if they can't, if my goals are small, then my employees' goals are bigger than that, then they're going to outgrow me. There's not capacity for them to grow. I want employees that love life, love the job, love coming into work, love the mission, love the reason. I want a great corporate office to where people just are excited to be there. People are buying homes for the first time. They're upgrading their homes to bigger homes. They're just living comfortably, working their butts off towards this one common goal. And that is the why. We're building more than just projects. We're building lives for our employees to be able to talk to their kids and their grandkids about how great it's been being a part of this team and this vision that we have.
Yeah. And as I said, and that's a great vision to have, and a great why. Successful companies, the 5 drivers, you can talk about sales, you can talk about profit, you can talk about, assets, you can talk about growth, but the most important thing, which is in center of all of the whole, key drivers, are people, and that being your people that you work with and, you have employed with you, and your customers. You mentioned something, and that was one of the things that again brought me to this conversation was your vision board concept. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and share that real quickly here with the audience so they know what we're talking about here. To me, this was probably one of the most profound, I guess, concepts you can say that you brought to light. And, I think some of us do this in our minds, but nobody brought it to the extent that you did as far as, making it real, make it look real. Tell us about this. Work us through what this looks here.
So this is the future iterations into my initial vision board. This is what it currently is right now. The vision board for me came about when I joined the RTA Syndicate, which is an entrepreneur group ran by Andy Frisella and Ed Milet. Andy Frisella started at nothing. He owns First Form Supplement Superstores and some other businesses. He's grown his business over the last 20 years into a Goliath in the fitness space and the supplement space. Ed Milet started out as a financial advisor, I believe, and then has expanded from there, just grown to build this huge life. These guys are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and you probably don't even know about them. I found Andy Frisella through podcasting, and then I applied to be a part of the RTA Syndicate. With that, our weekly calls led by Andy Frisella and Ed Milet. Ed Milet is big on the intentionality and purpose. And if you're not intentionally visualizing what you want, you will never get there. He's gone through exercises on our calls to where you actually will visualize the item in your mind, and it'll have you think about it and then bring it closer and then take it further back and then bring it closer and then go black and white and then go color and think about how it feels to be in that space and to look at every single detail of that item. If it's a car, say a Ferrari, you're going to visualize going up to the car and actually opening the door and what the leather's going to smell like and feel like, and the senses that you get while you're in that. Because most people just live their lives with the same routine. You wake up, right. You may work out, you do this, you do that. At the end of the day, you're exhausted. You go sit on the couch. Everybody wants stuff. Everybody wants different things for their life. But how many people actually put a little bit of time into creating a vision board? This is my desktop background. I also have a whiteboard over on the side that has a date, 2032, and it says completely debt-free and totally financially independent. I see that whiteboard over there probably 20, 30 times a day, and I read that to myself. And so when I get distracted for a minute, I can see that, and then I snap right back into it. Am I really doing what I need to do to be completely debt-free and totally financially independent in the next 10 years? And so these things that I have set up as visualizations throughout my space, I have the listing of a building that we didn't get, because one of our goals is, like, in the bottom middle of this is to buy a commercial building. Right. So I have that listing right there that I see, and how it makes me feel that we didn't get that building. We weren't completely ready at that time. And so it makes me work harder. And so this is my vision board that I have. It has different things. Discipline equals freedom. That's a Jocko Willink saying. Yep. Love, respect, validation, aggression. I think those are some key things that you need throughout your life. A big thing on the left is outlast the temporary, because so many people get bogged down, and the only way to win is to keep going. And so the suck happens in the moment, in the temporary. But if you can outlast the temporary, then you're good. And then success requires no apologies. Failure permits no abilities. It's just alibis rather. Failure permits no alibis. So it's just a reminder always that of where I'm going. And then throughout the vision board in the upper right, it's faith-based, but it also is reading, working out. You have a couple of vehicles, a Porsche and a Ferrari on there, because the main focus of the why may not be about money, but let me tell you, it is a huge reason why I drive so hard, because I want financial freedom. And I knew working for another company, you see a Ferrari go by and it's like, well, I'm never going to be able to afford that. How do these people afford it? Well, they take risks and they work really hard. And I will be driving those cars in the future. And then some other things, passive income, that's a big thing for me because my business is so active and so time consuming. I miss out on things that I would like to go see. Like we recently purchased a larger home with large land in Northern California, and my kids are out riding dirt bikes while I'm in the home office working. And man, I wish that I had some passive income so I could actually kind of take a little bit less than always on role. So
Right.
been working through that, have strategies for that, learning about Bitcoin, and then again, the time clock, because my time is super valuable. And it is just one of those things. I love spending time with my family, which is right in the center of the vision board, because that right there is what boosts me up and keeps me going, working so incredibly hard is those people right there.
Yeah. What was so impressive to me, yeah, you're absolutely right. Discipline equals freedom. And the more discipline you have, the more freedom you're going to have just because you're organized. What impressed me the most is that how, if you look at your vision board, center, and I know this was deliberate, is that family matters to you a lot. There's also, the balance of faith and, working out. I didn't know you wore, tank tops like that when you worked out, but that's a good shot of you there.
Not yet.
And, you're right. The cars too, everybody wants to be rich and famous. They want to have cars, but again, you're centered on this. The center is the family, and that's what the why is: the people in your life, the people that surround you. And my God, that's the greatest passion you can have. The greatest why you can have is being centered and there are no limits to your personality, your life, if you just look at it that way and create a balance. But you have balance in your life, and that's what's important. And this is on your desktop, and you have reminders throughout the office every day that you wake up. Anytime you boot up that computer, anytime you open that, the laptop, this is what centers you. And that was impressive to see that. I think that, it's easy, and things change, because you had mentioned too, if things change your life, you can always change some of the pictures inside and out. This is kind of, a living document for you. You can kind of change things out. So very impressed by that. So
yeah, of course, your vision board better be changing. Otherwise, it's just a picture that you have around, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole purpose of a vision board is to accomplish the task and then replace it with something bigger. For instance, my initial vision boards had a company on it. Like I wanted a business that was, I used to joke when we first started that I was the CFO of a multi-$1,000 company. That was the first year. And so the vision board was to grow that from thousands in revenue up to millions in revenue, into seven figures, into eight figures. I had on there a wakeboarding boat because I grew up on the lake and we hadn't had one. And I had an F-250 on there. I had a Rolex on there. And so these things you accomplish, you need to keep expanding your vision and your dreams. It needs to get so big that it's scary. You don't need to know how you're going to get there, but your visions need to be so big, so scary that you don't know how to get there, and you're just working towards it. Because if you limit yourself by thinking, all right, this is my goal and I can clearly get there. But yeah, you'll probably get there, but you're not going to get beyond there. But if your goal is so big, so massive that it scares you, all you can do is you're forced to work towards it. And so if I told you that my goal is to be worth $100 million, that is like, do I know how I'm going to get there? No, but if I told you that my goal was to be worth $1 million, like eventually through 401ks and whatnot, like I've accomplished that. So if my limiting belief was to become worth $1 million, then I would hit that, and then I would be stagnant.
Right.
But my goal is 100, 500 million dollar net worth. These things that I don't know how I'm going to get there. I want to have multiple businesses. I want to have employees that are driving Lambos. I want this huge thing that I don't know how to get there, but I see my vision board and I have all these goals. And so I just continue to drive towards that. And eventually we'll get there. And then when you get there, you have to expand even more. It's like this thing that just keeps growing, keeps growing, keeps growing. If it's one thing on your screen that never changes, then you're not working towards it. It's just, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, things change in life. It's funny how when you talk to salespeople or anybody in general, and they go, I've got all these goals and dreams I want to do, but it's tough. I don't ever see myself succeeding at because I just don't do the right things. It's just something simple. We tell everybody is that for a goal and a dream and something you want to accomplish in life, you need to have a concrete, measurable timestamp on everything you do if you want to achieve that. And that's what you have with your vision board. You said something like 2032, you want to be, financially free. And that is your timestamp. And if you don't have that, guess what? Everything is just a big wish list, right? It's a big wish. And a lot of salespeople find that out. And, being an owner of a company, I know it's tough too. With that being said, I know you're a very busy man. You're an owner of a company. You got a lot of things flying around. You got customers and people to get to. So this is a QR code. So if somebody wanted to take a picture of that, they can send you any comments or questions they have about your vision board. And so that's the best way to get a hold of you. And
that's perfect. It'll take you right to the website, and at the bottom of the front page is my contact info.
Yeah, and your website is J&L, which is JANDL builders.com. That's Jones and Lamberti Builders. So again, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, and great lesson on vision boards and how people, that's your why, the family, the people and the employees that you work with. So great job. Thank you very much, Coleman.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet.